Welcome back, friends, to another reading for the collective, or welcome in if this is your first time here. My name's Ross, and I post these readings for the collective every Tuesday and Thursday. And I like to think of my tarot readings not so much as fortune telling, but as storytelling. So if you find yourself at a point in your story that isn't making sense or a spot that you never thought you would reach, then I invite you to hold whatever is troubling you, whatever is of concern for you right now, and bring that to your awareness, whether that's a feeling in your heart, in your chest, in your gut, or a thought in your mind, something that you've been ruminating on. Wherever it feels most alive for you, I invite you to tune into that. In a moment, we'll take 3 deep breaths into that space, and breathing out, we'll let out a sound, a moan, a groan, something to give that feeling somewhere to go. And so, breathing in and out. 2 more times, breathing in and out. And last time, breathing in and out. So, what story is your soul trying to tell? When I was tuning in, before I got on here, I was tuning in. That's how I want to say that. And the, oh shoot, there were 2 things that came through. The second one was the number 4. So that might be relevant as far as 4 days, 4 months, maybe even 4 hours. Uh, 4 is also a number that represents grounding and stability. Right now, I see a cardinal outside, so that might be relevant. What was that other thing? Yeah, maybe it'll come through. Or maybe we should just wait for 4 cards to come through. What about that? What was that other thing? Oh, I didn't see it. I saw some yellow, which, given that this is the Pamela Coleman Smith deck, could be quite a few of the cards. Did see that one. Una más, por favor. ¿Quiénes? ¿Quiénes? ¿Quieres? Aquí. Oh. All right. Yeah, that feels appropriate for now. 8 of Cups, leaving behind a situation. 4 of Swords, but you're not resting yet. 5 of Cups, grief, loss. And I did see this one. The Hanged Man. Can't remember if he popped out reversed or not, but right here he's right side up, so we'll keep it like that. Yeah, 8 of Cups I like to think of as the precursor to the Hermit. So we could think of these cups as your accomplishments, your achievements, everything that's been going well for you and still continues to be going well for you because they are upright and not spilling out like in the 5 of Cups here. Sorry, I was just getting something about the 5, but we'll save that for there. At a certain point in your development, and this doesn't even have to be spiritual, this can just be material, just being a human in this world, you get to a point where a situation requires you to move on, or a situation has provided you all of the opportunities and the growth that is available to you, or has been available in the situation. That doesn't mean that the situation is bad or wrong, or that it was bad or wrong when you were in it. It just means that you've grown and that it's time to move on. And that might be the title of this. You've grown and it's just time to move on. But in this growth, we can see that this character is walking uphill. So we can think of it as an ascension or a leveling up. Uh, in so doing that, it is important to rest. Four of Swords, when we see this upright, it is a card of rest. And there's that four again, number of stability, of grounding. With it reversed, though, it seems that you're not willing to do the rest. Maybe in your previous life in this realm, productivity was equated with your worth, and you, like many folks in Western culture, uh, saw burnout as a badge of honor. That's not going to fit in with where you're going. And this is, again, it doesn't have to be a spiritual journey. This can just be about you going about your day. The world is changing. We are anchoring in new light, new possibility, new love. And that requires rest. So I invite you to rest. And it'll be very interesting to see what Hafiz has to say, because I know he's got a card in here about resting. Resting doesn't mean you're lazy. Resting doesn't mean you're not doing something. It just means that you're allowing your physical body, your material body, to integrate and resonate with your spiritual body, your spiritual self. Which brings us to the Five of Cups. There can be a lot of mourning going on in ascending, in what you find when you're resting, because when you allow the mind to rest, all of the things that the distractions have been keeping at bay kind of come forward. And maybe you realize, oh, I spent 8 years doing a job that I hated. I spent 8 years in a relationship that I did not enjoy. And Five of Cups is a card of mourning, a card of loss, a card of grief. And I just hold you with so much tenderness as you go through that. And I'm not going to say that you need to hurry up and fix that or rush healing or anything like that. I just want to point out what we see in the card here, that two cups remain upright behind this cloaked figure. We can't tell their gender, which suggests that grief and mourning is something that we all share. And at this time, they are focused on what they've lost, which is understandable. However, if they are able to turn around, they will see not only are two cups still standing upright, but also there is a bridge leading them out of this land of grief and loss into something different. And going back to these Two of Cups, it's suggested that these do represent the Two of Cups in the Cups suit. And twos are all about relationships, connections, not necessarily romantic, just those one on one interactions that we have, the little bits and pieces of our lives that build our community. So the invitation here might be to find your people, or at the very least, open yourself up to being found by your people. I can't tell you where your people are, but if you're here, I'm glad you're here. Maybe this is where your people are. And then we end with the Hanged Man, who was in the last reading, which you can watch right here. This time he is upside down again, back up in his tree, but he's not lost his shine. He's not lost his smile. This is the kind of new way of looking at things that is required, not only as you're grieving, but as you're leaving behind a world that you've known. And we're always kind of leaving behind worlds that we know or have known. You're a different person when you're watching this than you were yesterday at this time. Whenever you watch this, this is timeless energy. This is a timeless message. But what holiday do we have coming up soon? Memorial Day, I guess. You're a different person. You will be a different person in this upcoming Memorial Day than you were in Memorial Days prior. I'm just using that as a reference of time. You could say, I'm a different person today than I was yesterday. I'm a different person in this breath than I was in the previous breath. And understanding that, looking at that not as a failure, not as a flaw in your design, but as a part of the design can help you, I guess, reconcile the fact that you are changing. I want to see what else you want to look at in a different way. I know we said only 4 cards, but what else does the person this reading is for need to see in a different way? Or okay, what is the invitation to see in a different way? Oh, your happiness, your judgments, and I was just thinking of this card because this is probably one of the most challenging for me to read. But yes, so the question was, what does this person need to, or what is the invitation for this person to see in a different way? And we've got the Ten of Cups reversed, Judgment upright, and Six of Pentacles upright. A happy outcome is guaranteed. The Ten of Cups is, after the Sun, probably the happiest card in the whole tarot deck. With it coming in reversed, it's that invitation to look at what you have and see if you're not being as grateful for what you do have as you could be. Maybe you're not living in a mansion by the ocean and driving a convertible. Maybe you just have a little hut and a wagon. But that little hut keeps you dry in the rain, and that wagon gets you down the hill. Getting up the hill is another matter, but you know all about that. Uh, yeah, it's still happiness. It's still that idea that you're going to get where you need to go, but the gratitude for where you are not only makes where you are a much more pleasant situation, but it also speeds up that arrival of what is your imagined happy ending. And I mean, this kind of goes with judgment as well, but if it lives in your heart or even in your head and it makes you happy, it brings you joy, and it doesn't interfere with the happiness and joy of anyone else, then it's all but guaranteed. Your creator wants you to be happy. Your creator wants you to succeed. And so maybe that is the judgment that can be levied upon this situation. I'm reading A Course in Miracles, as I've mentioned before, and I can link that below. It's a very dense book, and It's where I have gotten my understanding of what judgment is. And I did mention this in the last reading as well, and previous readings. The only judgment your creator can make is, you are my child and I love you. And it's interesting that we've got the Six of Pentacles coming up with this little scale here, because, oh, what was I reading this morning that really resonated? Let me see if I can tune back into that. For judgment to be fair, something cannot be taken from someone else and given to another. And this card, Six of Pentacles, is this character meting out what he thinks these beggars need or deserve. So this is, we could say, a false view of judgment, a false view of justice. It's suggested that this character, in the book that I have, it says that they are disguised or in the guise of a merchant. And so the thought is that this is justice disguised as a merchant. We can think of justice with the balanced scales here. But the judgment that this person is levying upon these people is incongruous with the judgment and the justice of the creator, the God of your understanding. There's very clearly a hierarchy here, this person above these two. And in the justice and the judgment of the God of my understanding, there is no hierarchy, because there is no taking from one to give to another, because doing so would make the receiver greater at the expense of the giver. The only judgment is this: you are my child and I love you. 1717, as I'm saying that. And since this is going along, let's wrap this up. So Hafiz, bring it on home for the folks today. What's an affirmation or a confirmation or a different way of looking at all of this beautiful information that we've received here? Well, we got 8, 4, 5, 12, 10, 26. And I don't know if I mentioned this, but I post these videos every Tuesday and Thursday, and I love sharing these with you. If you want to dive deeper, I'd be happy to do a deeper reading for you to help you 41 transform. 41 turns into 5. 5 of Cups. Transform. The snow and I are kneeling on roofs all over the world, and a spring will come to each life, and we will melt back into God. Let go. Surrender whatever form you're clinging to. Like a phoenix carries certainty of rebirth in its breast, go willingly to the fire and surrender whatever is aching to be reborn. Outdated beliefs, old ideas, worn out dreams, burnt out relationships, anything that makes you feel too small, overly tired, or not enough are fire worthy. New life needs the space of transformation in order to take root. Drop your defenses and melt away all that does not belong. Melt away all that does not belong. And that may be the situation that you're leaving or have left. Letting that go. Melt away the ideas of what you think about rest, what you think about judgment, what you think about happiness, what you think about justice, fairness, all of the above. And that feels complete, so we'll leave it there. I want to thank you for tuning in. And like I said, I post these every Tuesday and Thursday. Like it if you like it, share it if you think someone else might benefit from this. Subscribe, it's free, who cares? 2020 as I'm saying that. And I will see you here in the next reading. But until then, I wish you nothing but peace, love, and happiness from this day forward. Take care.